You're not winning 90% of your new business because you have some sort of incredible value.
I'm going to take a bit of a different angle.
You know, I've got a budget this big. I'm going to give it to you because you have a really killer plan.
You give a Red Bull to a turtle, what do you expect?
I think that's a dead turtle. So let's move on to...
E-rig.
Cheers.
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 Does your current premium finance company lock you into long-term agreements? That's because they don't want you talking to us. At IFS, we win your business the good old-fashioned way, with customer service. I know you don't always have to use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Insurance Pint Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tom Reed, and I'm joined by my colleagues Steve Earle, CEO of Cheap Insurance, Jeff Roy, CEO of Excalibur Insurance, and Adam Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell & Whale. Today we are super pleased to have Nigel Walsh with us from Google, all the way over in the UK. Hi, Nigel, how's it going?
I am fantastic, thank you very much. I am both excited and super nervous to be joining you guys.
Everybody's nervous at the beginning. By the end, they're all pissed off. So,
I'm just pleased you said off rather than anything else, so that's good.
There is a certain episode in season 3 that'll be aired that our guest went through a few pops, so we'll see how you do. So I'm going to turn the talking stick over to Jeff, and Jeff, have at her.
Great. Thanks, Nigel. Great to have Mr. Insurtech, a legend in the industry, on the podcast. And we'll get things kicked off here. We always love to throw this question at all our friends across the pond. Who is your favorite Canadian musician, or do you have one?
You know, I had to search about Canadian musicians. We've never heard of it over here, to be honest, the capital of pop. I was going to go with Justin Bieber, but I figured you guys wouldn't know who he is. You're probably all too old, right? So I went with Bare Naked Ladies instead.
Oh, that's good.
Great choice. Great choice. And Justin Bieber, by the way, lives about 40 minutes, or grew up 40 minutes from where I live in Clinton, Ontario. So we do know who the Beeb is.
I'm just impressed that Bing served up that answer.
I actually got it on Ask Jeeves. It was quite useful. I said, Ask Jeeves, who is this? And they pointed me to some, CompuServe thing. Anyway, either that or Drake and God's Plan. So Drake was, come on, he is just super cool, right? Now,
this throw it out to any genre. If you could see any band live in concert at any time in human history, who would the band be? What would the year be? Tell us, Nigel.
It's so tough because I'm a 70s boy. I live for disco, truly live for disco. But I guess it would have to be the Beatles live in London or Madison Square Garden. I mean, just somewhere big, somewhere iconic. But imagine just seeing the Beatles. That would be something else, wouldn't it?
Oh, they're one of the probably the best band it's weathered well. Their music's magical, like the McCarthy and Lennon, no better songwriters. So,
and actually, I was late to the music game, as in I didn't go to concerts till I was a little bit older. And one thing over the last years, I've missed going to concerts. We'd seen so many folks over the last couple of years from The Weeknd. Don't hold it against me. I'm a massive Kylie Minogue fan. Get in, Kylie Minogue. But I've seen so many folks that over the last couple of years. We've actually got tickets to book to see Elton John, but that's been postponed like 2 or 3 times. We've got The Weeknd booked again. Just come on, let's get back to it.
Nice. Well, hey, Weeknd's a good Canadian artist too. So, and Elton John married a Canadian guy. So there you go.
If the Weeknd's Canadian, I'm going with The Weeknd. Sorry, Drake. Sorry, Biebs.
That's all right. No, he's good. He did a great job at Super Bowl. So, all right, let's flip to the next question. Nigel, what is your drink of choice?
As an Irishman, I should be flowing with Guinness through the veins, right? But I can't touch the stuff. Usually you'll find me with a glass of wine or a gin and tonic. And actually, I think over the pandemic times again, Mrs. Walsh has had a G&T in her hands. It's got earlier and earlier and earlier. So I've been on the water or the coffee. So, either that or if it's a nice day like today, it's a cold beer. So I'm not a big drinker, but I'll have 1 or 2 or 3 now and then. When
you're not enabling insurtechs or changing the insurance landscape using technology, what are you doing in your spare time, Nigel?
It's 10:20. This is my spare time. What are you on about? I have 2 young kids, so I've got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old that keep up most of my time. And outside that, for those that follow me on Twitter, I apologise, but I love fitness. I love cycling. I love getting outdoors. I love challenges. So it's usually something along that. I've just signed myself up to a 155-mile bike ride in one day, which feels like a really good idea at the time.
Mile? 155 mile?
155 miles in one day.
Wow. Well done.
Buns the steel, chaps.
Hope you have a good e-bike. Hey, one other thing too, we noticed that really awesome Porsche behind you on the shelf there. Is that another one of your hobbies?
I love it. I'm a Virgo. I love building things. I've had Lego. You can probably see a truck up here. There's a classic VW camper over there. There's a Ferrari next to it. I'm a petrol head. I love cars. And actually, that's a really great activity with the kids, right? So, but it got to the stage. I mean, I was just saying that's a 700-page manual for that thing. The kids get to an age where you go from helping them to just being redundant. And actually, my son, I was completely redundant for that. He made it all himself.
Are all of them Lego?
They're all Lego, yeah. They're all Lego vehicles at the moment.
Wow.
I got to that heartbreaking moment about 6 months ago where he was like, Dad, I don't want it in my room anymore. I want to get rid of it. And we got loads of Star Wars and Harry Potter and all those sorts of cool things. And he just said, Dad, I'm moving on. And it's one of those break your heart moments when all the money you spent on Lego is now about to be sold on eBay or Facebook or wherever else to go to the next passion.
I noticed you guys are getting closer to being able to travel again. Where's the first place you want to travel to, Nigel?
I'm genuinely not going to be picky. I would take any. I don't think I've been outside of 5 miles within my house, or 10 miles if you think about the cycles or whatever else I've been doing in the last 14 or 16 months. As a family, we love road trips. We spent 6 weeks going through California. We did San Luis Obispo, Pismo Beach, Santa Monica, Yosemite. We did a trip about 2 years ago through Arizona, Nevada. We had one planned last year through Colorado. We want to get out to Canada, obviously. We've got so many things planned. We just want to start traveling again.
All right. Well, the guys here in the show, if you show up in Canada, we'll make sure you show you a good time whenever you stop by, for sure. So
100% outdoorsy. Anything to do with hiking, seeing the outdoors. All good fun for us.
Awesome. And last question. You're Mr. Insurtech. You're one of the top 50 influencers, number one at times. It kind of wavers between 1 to 5. You can't be on Twitter all the time. Who are the 3 people thought leaders that you admire the most?
It's a tough one. What I say about this is it's a wonderful community out there. And when you say thought leaders, I want people that actually write, have an opinion, create content, as opposed to do sharing. And I think everyone's got their role, whether it's amplify message, help get out there. Theo's great. I mean, she's brought a fintech, Insurtech. Sabine van der Linden is wonderful. She's got a great grasp of what's going on. When you think about what she did with Startup Bootcamp, Mateo's phenomenal at writing around IoT with the observatory he's built and telematics. Look, what all those people hold in common is they're passionate about what they do, and they're happy to go right. We'll all admit we're never right or wrong. We just have an opinion, and let's go net it out together. And that's what I like about the folks.
It's nice to see people with opinion, because a lot of people in insurance are too scared to have an opinion, or they hide it. So bravo, good on you guys. So that's all my questions for now. I'm going to pass it back to our great host, Tom.
Thanks, Jeff. And thanks for submitting to all those speed round questions there, Nigel. So let's hear from you. So
could you say that any slower, Steve?
You give it a Red Bull like the turtle, right?
No.
It could be his internet. He is on the East Coast.
Maybe we should get you some Google Wi-Fi. It's quite good, I hear.
Is that translating across a fucking
That's
pond?
not a turtle. That's a bird.
all right, with that in our rear view mirror, Nigel, in your own words here, give us your bio. What has led you to being with us at Dark 30 London time on the Digital Insurance Point podcast? What has led up to your guest appearance on our show?
I talk about my ambition to help people fall in love with insurance. I feel people don't understand it enough, care about it enough, like it enough. And having seen and been responsible for a whole lot of technology transformation over the last 10, 15, dare I say almost 20 years, helping organizations implement, engage, and look at things in a different way. My journey to here is, I've been at Google 3 or 4 months now, an amazing organization looking from the outside in, a truly awesome organization on the inside looking back out. Prior to that, I spent 5 years at Deloitte, where I led, global future of insurance, which was again an amazing opportunity. I co-led on global Insurtech, but actually I helped non-insurance businesses build insurance businesses. So this is retailers, this is banks, this is automotive companies, this is leasing companies going, you know what, we can have a go at that because no one likes insurance and we can do a good job of it. We own the customer. So I had a really good fun trying to build out and help organizations launch these new businesses from scratch. And they're serious. They are deadly serious about going, you know what, we own the customer, we want to maintain our ownership of the customer, and we think we can do a really good job of it. The barriers to entry to get there are just dropping left, right and centre. And you know the Insurtech community as well as I do and what's gone on in the investments that are made. There's got to be 5,000 plus startups now with $40 plus billion invested. We are not short of money, we are not short of ideas, and we're not short of ambition to go after this thing. So for me, what led up to this is the passion to go help change the industry for the better and make it much easier for customers, brokers, agents, distribution networks to engage in what insurance is today, but more importantly, what it's going to do tomorrow.
It's quite refreshing, I think, to hear somebody speak as passionately as you do about insurance. We're the four of us are thick into things here, and sometimes those hurdles tend to smack you right in the face. So it's actually really refreshing to hear somebody as passionate as you are about insurance.
No, I get it. I get it. My worry is actually, I don't know if you guys have got young kids. My worry is twofold. One is my 8-year-old daughter. Will she ever learn to drive? Will she ever need to drive? Now, we live in a reasonably urban area. We're not in the city. We're a little bit further out. But still her desire to drive. I mean, I remember when I was 17, it was a long enough time ago. The first thing you do at 17 in the UK is you run out the door on your birthday and you get a driving lesson straight away. If you look at things like number of 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds or 18-year-olds applying for a provisional license to get going is falling through the floor. People just don't want to do it anymore because the ability to access a rideshare service, an Uber, a Lyft, or whatever else we've got, or a local taxi service, is there. So why would I do it? So our change in mindset and attitude to how we treat assets, how we own assets, what we do with it, is going to make a huge jump in insurance going forward. And I worry that if we don't get ahead of it, we're going to be in a really bad spot quite quickly.
The fresh approach to fresh entrance into it. From your past life, what was the, most successful or nicest story you saw where they had a vision, they executed, and it worked pretty well? As
I talked about earlier, actually, to someone else. If you look at Poncho in Australia, led by a chap called Phil Wilson-Brown and Marcus and a bunch of others, Poncho is a startup out of IAG, so one of Australia's largest insurance companies. And what I love about this, they won Celent's Model Insurer of the Year award, I think last year. But what I like about it is they took the best of the old world, so existing applications, existing things that work that didn't need to be changed, the best of the new world, so they took technology from Socotra's and Insurtech, mashed it all together and created a proposition that was fit for purpose in today's day and age. And now you've got a great brand new insurance proposition which has got a really fresh feel to it. It's a dynamic, more engaging policy with plain English. They've just done a really awesome job at making it work. And I think that says, actually, we don't have to throw out all the old baby with the bathwater. We can take the bits that work still and don't need changing, add in the bits that we'd like to update to get us a new business model, whatever it might be, and run faster.
I like your idea of the mashup, though, because a lot of ideas don't have to be 500% better. They need to be 5 or 10% better. You have to make 6 or 7 moments of truth in the client experience a little bit better than your competitors. You don't necessarily have to completely change everything.
It doesn't need to be thrown out and started again. You can actually just get these things better by making them 1% better each and every way. Is that the right answer? Sometimes, but not always. And I can come back to that later too.
On your LinkedIn page, you talk about lovable insurance. And every marketing person I've talked to in the insurance space talks about insurance as a grudge purchase, which seems to me to be the opposite of lovable insurance. So in your opinion, Nigel, what does lovable insurance look like?
When you mentioned the word insurance, I even had it a while back. I said to someone, I work in insurance. He goes, oh, you must be an exciting person at a dinner party. And we've all had it, right? You know, you don't want to stand at a bar other than an ITC in Vegas or an insurance conference and go, I'm in insurance, because they just look at you and slowly back away going, oh God, this is going to be really dull. Well, actually, if you think about it, I look at financial services or fintech and banking and go, my kids will live their future without a bank account. It's not necessary. But you can't get a mortgage or drive a car or go on public transport or get into an office without us. So frankly, we need to be able to be prouder and clearer about what it is that we do that enables life to move as it currently does. So for me, lovable is either an outward facing thing to get people to understand what it is in a better way and know what they're buying, or internally to go, actually, if you want these things, there's a really, really great way for us to attract talent. And you'll see this day in, day out. How does someone in insurance, if we speak, oh, it's just a grudge, sorry, as opposed to we're insurance and ultimately we're an AI organization, a data organization, machine learning. My co-host on Insurtech Insider has a lovely phrase that she wrote, I think, in Forbes, where she said, we've got self-driving cars and drones. What have you got? Find me any other industry that's got that. I mean, it's kind of like slam dunk, mic drop moment. We've got to be more passionate about the industry and what we're doing and how we enable it going forward.
Awesome. I actually saw one of my former colleagues, I don't know if you guys know Chris Miller up in Edmonton. He's with Lloyd Sad. He gave a very similar speech to a bunch of, a whole crowd of insurance people at a conference. Similar kind of concept, which is the world doesn't operate without insurance. And his perspective was a little bit different. Basically, it was go screw yourself by slinking away from me at the party. Whereas it seems your approach is a little more like let's grab this by the short hairs and inject some passion back into it.
No, I was just saying it's really refreshing. Of like, it's got me second guessing. Of like, yeah, what is all the griping about? I've been hanging around Angry Steve too long. I need more Nigel in my life.
I don't know what the system is like in Canada, but if I look at the UK system, my kids will come out of school and they'll know some fancy maths, they'll know geography, history, and whatever else. Will they know how to change a car tyre? Will they know how to change a outlet on a toaster? Will they know what compound interest is? And more importantly, will they know what insurance is?
Now, I know some brokers in the U.S. that are actually going in the schools, educating about finance, insurance, banking, like common sense skills that, you walk out where you're intellectual enough to go to school, but not smart enough to be able to handle real life problems, right?
And I think we've got to work out as well where do we go for it? Is it the education establishment's issue? Is it a government issue, or is it an insurance industry issue?
Nigel, let's put the focus squarely on Canada for a moment. In your opinion, who are the top 5 insurtech startups?
I'm not sure you're going to call it an insurtech, but I'm going to call it out because it was built by a buddy of mine, and that's Sonnet. And I love what they've done. You might tell me it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'd love to get your perspective. But the story that Mark tells, at least, is a very strong story. And I like the way it's been done and what they've done. I like the fact that Economical transformed themselves as an organisation into a tech-driven organisation. I love that. I think it's a good story to tell. I like what they're up to. Players' health, back to my passion for exercise and fitness. If you speak to Neil Mitchell, he's always stalking me in Strava and giving me encouragement online and whatever else. So I like the idea of actually removing or helping risk mitigation for sports professionals and stuff like that. And then, of course, you wouldn't expect me to say anything else other than, given where I work today, but someone like Chisel AI. And we talked about it a second ago about reading policies. Well, actually, there's got to be a better and smarter way to do it. Chisel won the Zurich first innovation competition led by Mark Budd and team. So that was a couple of years back. I just love the whole concept of being able to use technology to accelerate our understanding, get through some of the monotony and whatever else, and bring that to life.
One of my last conferences, I actually met Tyree Burke. I've known Neil for some time. We were at some conference down in Vegas. I met Tyree. He is a pretty driven, intelligent, passionate guy. It turns out he actually played pro football in Calgary.
Nigel, I'd like to hear your term, like Insurtech. Explain to our listeners what that really means.
So Insurtech is almost enabling business model change using technology.
So as a small broker, part of my job is to future-proof my business. Who do I need to be afraid of?
The key point here is if we continue to do what we're doing today, then the answer is probably everyone. If we evolve with it and we change, and no doubt when you started N number of years ago versus what you do today, they're going to have evolved, but are they going to have evolved at the right pace and scale to meet your customers? How are we going to deal with my 12-year-old son that doesn't care about insurance, want to read things, but needed to ride his e-scooter? He hasn't got an e-scooter, by the way. I would absolutely divorce him. We've got to make sure that we evolve correctly. And if I'm a small to medium broker today in Canada or anywhere in the world, I would be looking at what my next generation want to look at, how we engage, and what it is we can do to address almost the value-added services. What am I coming to you for today, and what am I coming to you for tomorrow? Because I need you to be front and centre, I need you to be front of mind, and not the traditional. And this is going to change, I think, because products are changing. I need us to be able to say, actually, Nigel, I understand your risk for you better than anyone else. And I can help be that advice. Give you a great example. Why do farmers always go back to the same insurance or the same mutual each and every time? Or why do teachers, lawyers, dentists, doctors always go back? Because they go back because they are the specialists in their industry.
So let's say I do all that, but I still can't connect digitally with my suppliers.
So the choice is there for us to go, well, actually, if you look at the way panels work, either in reverse or forward, we get to choose our customers and buy either a location or a specialty or whatever it might be. Equally, the folks that will help you write that business are the ones that make it easy to do business with. This is true for any industry. If I make us, where I currently work, hard to do business with, I will not win business. I will not be the person that's got the opinion or the point of view. I will not bring the best capability. I will not attract the right talent. We will just stop. So there's a whole host of things here. And I think you get that choice to go, I think you're now too hard to do business with. I would rather go somewhere else, even if it means it's more expensive, because I can engage in a different way.
I had a conversation the other day where it was, the statement was made, you know, why don't we, as brokers, and this was from a BMS provider, a smaller one, that said, well, brokers should just all cancel this insurance company or not support them if they're not connected. And my retort to that was, why don't we make things easier for the brokers? Because the path of least resistance will actually win the business. So we don't have to cancel anybody. If you make it easier for me to do business with you as a supplier, my business is actually going to naturally migrate to you.
You're spot on. I mean, it's very simple. And one of the reasons I love our industry is I think we have grown up with a collaborative nature. Do we get it right all the time? Definitely not. But actually, the folks that want to collaborate and hear from brokers, customers, different parts of the value chain, whether you're on the claim side or repair shop or whatever else, that collaboration's got a massive opportunity to always improve. And I love the fact, I was chatting earlier to someone, they said, even the principle of underwriting is, you go back to the traditional Lloyd's market here in London, you would walk around with a slip to share the risk. So why don't we share the responsibility of going, how do we make this better for the end user? And I think the digitization process, whether it's APIs or forms or whatever else, you don't have to go straight to APIs. We'd love you to. But actually, if you can't get there, let's start with a form. And you can go through stages to get the right things for the right people.
So a whole evolutionary stage, I guess, digital Darwinism, right? As you mentioned about brokers, we need to keep evolving. It's not the fastest or strongest, but the one best able to adapt to change that survives.
If you turn around to people pre-pandemic and say, other than Steve, obviously, because nothing happened, but if you turn around to people, I'm kidding. If you turn around to people and said, hey, we're going to move the entire industry and every industry home overnight and not miss a heartbeat, we'd have all laughed, wouldn't we? But look at what we achieved as a race, as a nation, as a group of companies. We all operated. Our biggest travesty now would be reverting back to what it was. So what can we learn? What can we learn from it now that allows us to keep bouncing forward rather than elasticate ourselves back to the old world?
Certainly, from the people that I talk to on a regular basis, a lot of desire to take the momentum that we've, that's been forced on us essentially through COVID and make sure that we don't slide backwards.
We've had so much stuff. At some point, we need to go, right, what do we now need to get rid of? Because we've put loads of sticky back plasters on it to make it work and get through what we needed to get through. Now, how do we take some of those plasters off to make it work more efficiently?
I'm going to make a statement here, and you can agree or disagree. What I'm sort of seeing, and particularly in the last, even 60 days, is that we have a lot of large insurers who have for years been saying, we want to be ahead of disruption. We want to be ahead of disruption. We actually want to be a disruptor. That sort of talk. What I'm seeing really quickly happen is that suppliers coming to me when I own the customer, at least currently, they're going to make it easier for me to do business with them. That could be a disruptor.
I think it could be. I think the opportunity there is, if I look at my own personal financial services as an example, I go for certain things to someone that I trust. Back, it's a really important point. So someone that I trust, and actually, I might be old-fashioned in this, I've worked with for probably 20 years. And I still check and balance what goes on, but I trust the human engagement, I trust their experience, and I want to understand what my options are. And they've never let me down. They've equally told me, Nigel, we can't do the right thing for you. You need to go do this. And I can't even do it for you, because if I could, I would. So I've never felt that I was going to the wrong place. In fact, it's always been my first port of call.
Right now it's really about removing friction, and you got three major tools. You got people, capital, or technology. And as we're now seeing, software is completely eating the world. The one good thing about brokers around the world, though, is who's in a better place to disrupt. Because we don't actually own the policy. Uber, the largest taxi company, doesn't own any vehicles. Airbnb, the largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. The most popular media, like Facebook, doesn't create any content. So we're in a good space in essence, because we basically we don't actually own the insurance company. We can distribute things quickly, but we got to be very nimble and, as you say, create that experience and get people engaged.
I mean, I'm an insurance guy at heart, secondly a technology guy. As Steve put it perfectly a second ago, how do we create experiences that customers just come to us for first and foremost? And actually, the thing I would do in this instance is, actually, if you've created that viral, go to Steve, he's the guy. Go to Jeff, he's the guy. Then you've created everything that you need. We've seen a whole host of folks do really, really well in multiple different ways, but I'll stick to insurance and transformation from that perspective.
So we've got distributors, manufacturers, and I'll lump regulators into that as well in Canada. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I know you've called out Canada, but I'm not sure, and you'll correct me here, how different Canada is to the UK or the USA. I think everyone struggles with the same things. What I've been really enlightened by is some of the regulators across the world. So if you look at the UK regulator, I think it's one of the best sources of innovation and drive if they engage with the industry in the correct way. So you've seen the sandboxes that the FCA created in the UK, replicated in Singapore, that allowed people to go test and explore and experiment in a safe environment. So I think there's a really, really great opportunity for, again, back to our point about collaboration, whether you're a distributor or a manufacturer or a regulator, how do we get ourselves into a room and collaborate rather than one person set the rules, another go manufacture the product, and someone else be dealing with the piece at the end of the day?
By the way, bravo on your regulator finally acknowledging dual pricing model and trying to banish it in the UK. That was an alarming trend.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the fair market review here is really interesting. I've actually written about this quite a few times. The loyalty penalty is really interesting. It links back to lots of the things we've talked about, whether it's education or elsewhere. Think about, Aunt Edith, who is unwilling, unable, and not bothered about going onto a website to go look for something and search for the best price, and treating customers fairly. So we've got to make sure that we don't create the wrong opportunity for people if people aren't able or willing or capable of looking for a better deal. So I think the industry's welcomed it. It has or it could have a profound impact on things like price comparison websites and whatever else, because frankly, they compare price, not value or service. And I'm not sure any of us go out there and say, hey, let's race to zero. We all go out there and go, I'll be there for you if you need me. I've got the best experience on these things. And if there's a claim, don't worry, I got you.
Well, yeah, that does come back to how people experience insurance, right? I mean, most people experience insurance, I think 8% or something like that if people have a claim, right? Those people are loyal, they get the value of insurance. The other 92% see it as a cost. That's where the grudge purchase comes in. So they logically say, oh, it's a commodity, it doesn't matter, therefore price is the only factor, right? So there's a huge piece that the insurance industry is missing.
We're all sitting here talking about insurance in the future as it currently stands. But what about if the business model of insurance changes dramatically? You know, you look at what Hartford Steam Boiler did in terms of changing the model to preventative maintenance. We've seen all the stories online. You go out to buy an engine for an aircraft these days. You don't buy the engine, you buy uptime. So what's the equivalent of that in insurance? You look at some of the health insurers and what they're doing to keeping you moving, whether it's John Hancock with Fitbit, whether it's Vitality or Discovery with health plans. What is it we're doing to make sure that you live a healthier, longer life and giving you the option and insight to make a choice? So I think we've just got to start experimenting with how these things might change, could change, and then I guess the next question is, why are we waiting for it? Why don't we just do it ourselves? How many of you guys have got pets?
We have kids. Right? Do they count?
I tell you what, though, we probably insure our pets more than we insure our kids. And I laughed at a tweet online the other day. There was a tweet that said something along the lines of, one of us just paid $600 to see if the other one had gas. And it just made me chuckle because someone asked me the other day, should I get pet insurance for my new puppy? And I know the passion and how much of a family member that pets become super quickly. So I think the whole thing here is by engaging early on, by understanding what we can do, there's some really great organizations in the pet insurance space, playing into the whole, there's 11 million new pets in North America. During the pandemic, there was 3 million new pets in the UK alone. It's a massive sector. Go a stage further than that. There's a equivalent of a tracker for your pet to work out where it's going or if it's drinking, and there's loads of technology enabling us to work out what they're doing, how often they're engaging, and all the other things that go with it. So the opportunity is there for us.
I think my big takeaway from that is that mutual insurers are the future, and so one of you guys needs to call Echo and let them know. By the way,
well, Echo's got pet insurance, but we can't access it.
For me, it's like brokers as entrepreneurs. Between me, Adam, and Jeff, we've had about 20 awesome, super ideas over beers in a bar. But guess what? As soon as we go to our suppliers to say we need somebody to, put the paper on this, well, there's legacy system problems. And
is it not just a really slick marketing wrap around a direct writer? I mean, they have a captive agent. They now have broker distribution via some of their API and pieces. Did they change a whole lot?
My neobank, I'm with Starling Bank in the UK. I love what they do. They're an app-only bank. But you know what? They released a web portal. Do I use it? Yeah, I do. I enjoy it. My old bank had a not as good app experience, and I had to change for different reasons. They had a great web experience, but they've almost built backwards rather than built forwards.
Sonos has done it. So way outside of insurance, I realized they started super niche, built a killer brand with a killer interface and customer service, and now they've already come all the way back to portable Bluetooth speakers and wired speakers. It's like, now you've gone back up the value chain, or I don't know how we want to describe it.
Well, what they've done is they've gone where their customers are. I have been a Sonos fan from day one, and I've talked about it publicly. They really frustrated me when they updated the S1 to S2, so I've now got my system split in half. It drives me mad. But I've got a Sonos Move. It's probably my best purchase, bar none, of lockdown. I absolutely love it.
I bought a Sonos Move too, and I bought the two new. I bought 4 speakers for my outside pool, and it's just amazing how well it works.
Honestly, the whole concept of it just works is really important. My litmus test for most things in the house is, can my kids and can my wife use it? So, and I'm an absolute gadget super freak when it comes to technology. I connect everything if I can. A great example now is, I'd be out with my wife and she wants to put the heating on for when we get home, or put the water on for the kids when they get home from school, whatever it might be. Emma is there on the app doing all these things, and I'm like, the app's been updated, I've not used it myself for ages, I've got no idea what she's doing, but she's in it, she's all over it, it's simple. So there's a lot to be said for making these, and Steve, you touched on it a minute ago, making these user experiences user-friendly.
Can we go back to the driving side? Like you mentioned your daughter is 8, and the question from a petrol head, and this resonates with me, and we're sort of thinking about this in our business too, but how long will cars be here?
So we got to balance it. And I think countries are very different, cultures are very different about where we are. You can go through I just saw a report yesterday that said cars in the US have reached a new age. The average age of a vehicle is 12 years. I think in Europe it's probably 3 to 5 or 5 to 7. So it's changed much more frequently. For my daughter, I think the desire to get around via her own car will have just gone completely. But having the ability to use a car, whether it's a shared vehicle, a EV, or a shared autonomous vehicle, is going to be quite interesting. Now, at my last shop, we did a bunch of research that's all public that talked about, if you look at a 2x2 matrix, of course, it's a good consulting shop. We had owned autonomous, shared autonomous, and whilst the top right might have been the safest, it was equally about 2/3 cheaper per mile to go there. So if you give a cash poor 18-year-old or 16-year-old the option to choose her own car and pay out insurance and maintenance and, or pay for the journey for the infrequent times that she wants to use it, I've got a sense that we're going to change business model here. So
that would say that driving's going to become a luxury.
I don't think it's a luxury. I think it depends on where you are and what you do.
But if you're going to maintain an air-cooled 911 and be paying for your actual risk because we've diminished the pool of the premiums of the many, paying for the loss of the few, it's going to be a bunch of me's and you's driving faster than suggested, probably representing a bigger risk profile.
Well, as we're all insurance people, we all know that driving fast isn't necessarily the worst drivers. There's a whole different conversation on that for a different day. But equally, if you're driving that car, then you are a driver as opposed to someone that's using it for commuting. So in that instance, it probably is a luxury. But if you're driving a standard four-door sedan and you use it every day as a workhorse for the school run, for commuting from A to B or whatever it might be, then it's a necessity, not a luxury. But if you could do it and you could, how many years have we talked about carpooling, right? And whether it's an environmental or sustainability issue or whatever it might be, it just makes sense to have less cars on the roads in that instance. And there's a load of good reports and research out there over the years about, you know what, I always am in awe when I go to the US or Canada and see the size and sheer scale of the roads. You know, here, if you've travelled to the UK and you've seen our A roads and B roads, you're basically pulling over to let someone past, single file or double file. But when you get to a motorway, it's a three-lane motorway, freeway each side. If you add another lane, you don't necessarily reduce congestion. You just add more traffic. And there's loads of studies over the years that says by adding more capacity, we just create more congestion. This is my personal view, by the way, from things I've read and seen. So maybe the answer is to start constraining it in a different way by taking vehicles off the road and making them more people in there. How many times do you see cars go down the road with one person in them?
We didn't address total autonomous, though, where you feel that's going. So quick story. My daughter's like 10. I'm driving her to school. She talks to me about when she's going to drive her kids to school. I forget what the story was about. But I said, Grace, honestly, you might actually be putting your kids in a car and the car will take them to school.
You look at the vehicles that are on the road today, and if you look at the levels of autonomy from 1 through 5, that are all, again, they're all public. We're not yet at 4 in many cases. But then equally, you get in a car today, a modern car, if you bought a car today, none of us would turn on a light. None of us will flick the windscreen wipers, and we'll all be assisted by lane assist or ABS or whatever else. So since 1957, is it, when seatbelts came out and were made mandatory, cars have just got safer. Technology today is going to just become more every single year that goes by. So at some point that gets us to a point that says, well, we can do it for you and we can do it safer for you. And I'm a big movie buff. I love movies. I love bad movies, sadly. You look at the beginning of, this is probably years of too much travel. You look at the beginning of I, Robot with Will Smith in the vehicle and he's going, he's in there. There you go. Hey, let me do manual override. And I love that because he's going, I can do it better than the machine. Well, you just have to go look on YouTube and you'll see that actually, in fact, we all know from an insurance perspective, we as humans are probably the worst part of the driving experience, bar none, right?
So two things I want to try on for size, and then I'll hand it over to Tom as I know he's trying to bring us to a close. But you hit on the idea I've been thinking for a while that there's going to be this halfway point, or maybe it's the full evolution, where you get to buy your GT3 and it'll be there and it'll have autonomous mode, which will be the modern version of cruise control, and it'll take you to work. And then you can hit off and it goes no nannies, all fun. But your telematics device is now going to bill you 80 cents per kilometer on your risk profile when you put it back into full go smart mode. It's back down to a penny a kilometer.
Like the best 80 cents you've ever spent in your life.
We know telematics are starting to emerge in our marketplace where there's hard braking events and there's acceleration and there's cornering. What if those just added up as risk points? And if you had a spirited drive that day, much like you consumed more gas, you consumed more insurance.
What you're describing now, though, is the difference between pay as you drive versus pay how you drive. And what you might end up with is, if you think about, first party or even third party liability and theft or whatever else it might be, you might sit there and go, here's the core thing that I need. And there's startups like Cover in the UK with Freddie McNamara or Buy Miles with James and team that give you this, here's your core stuff that you have to have. Tick to regulation. As you then flex it, depending on the number of miles that you do above and beyond that or how you drive or whatever else that you do, we'll charge you more. It's no different than a cell phone plan, is it? It's no different than a health plan that says, Adam, you know what? You can do all the things that you want, but as you go above these things that you choose to do, we're going to bill you more for it. But if we give you the insights, it's like telling Steve, if you tell Grace, don't put your hand in a hot fire, you're going to burn it. She's only ever going to do it once, right? Because she's going to realize it's hot. So we can get all the insights and advice from peers, parents, brokers, wherever. How do we use that insight to then take action ourselves? I know the bag of candy I had earlier is bad for me. I still ate it.
Change is slow until it's not. So I think you're right. It's going to be faster than we think. It seems like nothing's happening and then everything happens. And they hit that tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell would say, right? So I think the tipping point sooner than we think. But, people in Canada think we might have a 5-year, 10-year runway. The numbers are all over the map, right? But some of the challenges right now in rural for these self-driving cars is snow, just identifying snow, blizzards, and driving through that when you don't have great Wi-Fi connections. There's certain areas that we're not going to be there is quick, so some of the areas might be a little more delayed rolling out, but I think you bring some good points, and you've really stretched, I think, all our mind about the invisible insurance and the invisible touch.
Ask us 5 years ago, would we all be sitting here on video chatting to each other across the world? We'd have laughed. No way, we'd have to get together. Let's get on a plane, come together and go grab a beer. And by the way, I'd love to do it next time we're all together. Let's definitely go grab a beer together. Right, I'm all in on that. But this has also enabled a whole new level of collaboration communication that is just different. It's not better or worse.
It took this sort of event to force the whole world and all the companies and executives into saying, well, you're trying it.
I had a whole series on Twitter where I had, it took a pandemic, but. And as much as there's been misery and horrible experiences for so many, I think there's so many good things that have come out of the pandemic as well. And you already know I'm an optimist, right? So I think there's lots of things that we've done. Telehealth, telemedicine has gone through the roof. Go back to the comment. You listen to Dr. Ali Pastor, the founder of Babylon, on any of the podcasts. He talks about physicians never wanted to use telemedicine. We always need to be in person. We took my daughter to the doctor. We did a video appointment first and foremost. She had a lump under her skin. She said, we can't see it on video. Come in. But you know what? How many of us are now going to sit in front of and this is even worse as men, how many of us are going to sit in front of a doctor's surgery for 3 hours after waiting the 6 months to get there? We have no qualms or issues with picking up our phone and going, book an appointment. It's this time. Get it done. So we're never getting back to the old world in that way.
Now, I'm a Rush fan, so some of you will also be Rush fans. Nigel, you may not know who they are.
Hardly anyone in the world is a Rush fan.
Oh, so go to hell, Steve.
I'm a Rush fan. I like Rush.
Thank you.
Nigel would like Rush if he got the. We'll have to send him an MP3. So
go find the song called Red Barchetta. It tells you exactly what the future of driving is. Anyway, so Nigel, we're gonna wrap it up. So first off, huge thanks for coming on the show. It was fascinating. Love the passion and the candor. I do have to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, our title sponsor, IFS Premium Finance, also our sponsor, Crew Group and Garrison, and of course our charity partner, WIC. Nigel, I'm going to get you to wrap us up here, the last word, and maybe if I can say whatever you want, but if you would be so kind as maybe to give some advice. We have hundreds of brokers who will be watching this episode. Most of them small business owners. Most of them don't get a chance to talk to someone like yourself. So if you want to offer some words of advice to these folks who are dealing with the pandemic, dealing with carriers not connecting to them, dealing with crazy insurtechs popping up all over the place, if you could offer them some words of wisdom and advice, that would be super appreciated.
My advice is genuinely, we need to use our scale and our agility and not be afraid of change. Period. Right? You go and look out there at some of the innovation, whether it's broker tech and what Dan and the team are up to. There is so many good things going on out there. If we stand still, whether you're an industry giant, a 100-year-old organization, or a 20-year-old broker, then things are going to change, and they're going to change in front of you. And I've always been told you either watch the world go by or make the world go by. And I genuinely think that brokers will be here for a very, very long time. What we do will be different. How we engage may be different. But the trust and engagement that we've got will only get stronger. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And we don't need to wait for it. Just go drive it.
Nigel's trying to bring sexy back to insurance. Love it.
Hang on. Isn't that Justin Bieber bringing sexy back?
So Justin Timberlake. We're close, though. Close.
Darn. Okay. All right.
No, that was good. That was awesome, bud. Really appreciate you. Sorry for stalking you online there a couple of times, but really appreciate you clearing some time for us. I've always been a huge fan, following the Insurtech and just your thought leadership and your comments, and it's your personality, just how everything's happened. I got to meet Mateo at Insurtech in Vegas, and that was a cool moment. I have a lot of respect for him. So, you guys are doing some great things. And
what we need is to buy Mateo some socks.
His feet are that smelly?
Oh, I always tease him. We were at ITC, and he was sitting at the ice cream parlor in the hotel, and I walked past, and he's there. And maybe I'm just old-fashioned, but I wear socks with my shoes, and he was there, very European, not wearing socks with a suit. I'm like, come on. Can you imagine the British tailors going on mad on that one?
That's Miami Vice. I guess he's trying to get the American Miami Vice look, but it's funny. He does like to meet in the ice cream parlor.
There you go. See, we've all got a story. I love his enthusiasm. I generally love his enthusiasm, his passion, and what he's built with IoT Observatory is great. It's really good insights. Again, community. It's community.
Is retention important to your brokerage? Of course it is. That's why at IFS, we have a cancellation prevention process. Want more details? Give us a call. I know you don't always use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.
Nigel Walsh. That's pretty big for the show, guys. What do you think?
I'll be honest. I didn't give full credit, or I don't think I had the full context of who he was and what he was doing, right? And Jeff, you had been following him, knowing him, and sort of amazed. There's no doubt in my mind why he is making those lists as the most influential, or If that's not the best blue flame thinker we've had on, like I now want to have a super show with him and Taylor Rhodes, and we'll see who else we loop in.
That's assuming anybody ever wants to come back to our show afterwards. But
well, I've now just got a whole new mandate for the show. I just want to invite guests that are that cool to talk to.
No, he had some great insights. The scary part about the invisible insurance, and we talked about that, I forget, in season 2 with somebody about invisible insurance. That was maybe Theo or somebody. We mentioned the concept, but he's really brought it home about the watch outs. But he's very humble. He's like, guys, as long as you do a little bit and try and get a bit better and stay tuned and work at it, you get a future. People want advice. He was very encouraging, but on the other hand, if you don't, there's people that are ready to eat your lunch. So he had a very good message and just a cool guy to talk to, just to talk. And it wasn't just all about the insurance, right? It was about what's going on in the UK, what he's doing. I just thought it was a great conversation.
I got a definite undertone. He's very, obviously a very, very nice guy besides being a super smart guy. But I definitely got an undertone there of, if you want something, like, get off your butt and go do it. Like, don't take no for an answer. If insert name of domestic carrier here won't help you out, then knock on Munich Re's door and go, bypass your carrier.
Totally. He's got no baggage, like no excuses. Like here we have, and I've been sitting here thinking like, man, we've just been grumbling for a year, and here's a guy that's been busy getting shit done of like, get out of the way, we're doing it.
His love of insurance is contagious, right? Like, if you talk about how bad it is, what are you going to think? It's bad. It's a grudge buy. It's terrible. He talks about how to make it simple.
We have autonomous cars and drones. Mic drop. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, we do. Like, Encore.
The scary part was invisible insurance might eat your lunch and all that kind of stuff. But the positive was, okay, your suppliers, they're the ones who might get disrupted because you guys are distribution and you have tons of options. Like, go get creative and be distributors.
And he really had a good vibe about collaboration too, about the power of it. Look how well he's an influencer, #1 in the world for Insurtech influencer. Like, you can totally see how he was because he gets that conversation. And half the battle is having the conversation. Second part of the battle is getting the right people in the room. But if you're on wrong people in the room, it's making a pivot. And he basically said that, hey, you get the wrong person, move on, right?
I loved his comment about sort of the mutual approach and call it social circuits for lack of a better term. And when he was talking about that, in my head, I was thinking, man, what if I got everybody in my neighborhood, there's 100 houses sort of in spitting distance of my place. What if everybody was insured through the same place and got a discount if our neighbor didn't have an accident? We'd all be looking out for each other.
Well, and how many different things, like, we threw out the mission to make insurance not suck, but like, quite frankly, there's still a lot of things that suck.
Yeah, and then how many things are we trying to, I know a lot of people on the call here, all 4 of us are doing stuff, whether it's go paperless, whether it's DX initiative, whether it's connectivity. We're trying to give time to make it suck less, and we're trying to control what we can control. And there's only so much you can do, but at least we're trying to do something. We're not sitting around, back to Tom's thing, waiting or trying to get through the turnstile of life with somebody else's push.
It's a difficult time to pivot in the sense of you have 80% of our suppliers going through legacy to new system change right now, who they've all shit the bed on it.
The good point is Tom's brought up with the research done at IBAC that here's the standards, and I've tightened up the CZO standards. So these people that want to jump onto it have never had a better roadmap to get stuff done. So we're starting to find a way through. We're starting to lead the blind. We're starting to start out with the brokers as opposed to being done to us. We're making it happen. So as much as let's try to disguise the beer's half full, Steve, even though mine's empty. It's better than we think it is, and I think Nigel's kind of instilled that into us. He gave us hope. Those people that kind of light a fire inside you, not under you. You need people like Nigel to light a fire. Like, why not us? Why not now?
Well, what was his closing thought? Like, what do you can either? Oh, he had a really elegant line for you can.
You can be ahead of the pace, or you can
follow it. No, that wasn't it.
No, you can watch the world go by, or you can help make the world happen, right?
This is why we're not working for Google.
This was 10 minutes ago, for God's sakes.
Hey, this is why I have a headset in my basement, and he's building 700-page Porsches.
Although, back to Steve, to your point, I just want to talk to them for a second about 80% of insurers going through legacy change. Actually, if we can get them to see it this way, this is the perfect time to have these kind of conversations, because the worst time is after they spent $50 to $300 million building it, and you go, oh, can we add one more thing? And they're like, nah, it's over, man. We just spent a ton of money. Like, we're done.
Look at a company, I won't name names, but they own Sonnet. They bought Guidewire, and they chose to go the cheaper route because it was cheaper to have only direct bill.
You can watch the world go by, or you can make the world go by. I think that's exactly what he said.
God bless Evernote.
His one thoughts I like the best too is we need to use our scale and agility and not be afraid of change.